Everyone, before starting the workshop, so we all know that we have gathered here to learn, educate ourselves more about Claude Code Power User, how we are currently using Claude Code. We are just chatting with it, we are having a conversation with it, and we do not think of it like a agent. So how do we stop chatting with it and how do we start commanding it to do things for us? So that is the agenda. But before starting this workshop, I would like to ask you all a simple question. I would want to know your profession and from where do you belong? Because if I know the profession, so it will be easy for us to conduct this workshop. Would you all like to drop your professions in the chat? Okay, so we have PMO, we have software developers, SRE, HRBP, QA engineers. Great. Founders also. Very nice. I'm glad to see a mix of professions here because we have cybersecurity engineers also, software developers also, and product managers also, QA engineers also. So this will help us. This could be an opportunity for us mutually to learn how different people are using Claude currently and how can we improve this. So now I've known that what are your professions. Now I would like to ask you all that what is the like first of all, we have different AI bots and LLMs in the market right now. We have ChatGPT, we have Quinn, we have Claude, we have Perplexity, Gemini. So I would want to ask you all that which one are you using currently, and which one do you think out of all I've listed right now, which one do you think is top on the top of the list is the market standard? Because I've seen so many videos currently wherein somebody's been given a list of 10 list of 10 AI tools and they're being asked to rank them. And most of them I'm seeing these days that everybody is rating Claude as number one. So is there in the audience somebody who has an opinion otherwise? Okay, so Jitesh is saying that Claude is better for all of us. Exactly for me too. Anybody else? Any other opinions? Okay, Pradnya is also agreeing. Okay, Sandeep is saying anti-gravity works very well. Okay. So knowing this now, my next question for you all would be, how are you currently? Okay, so Pradnya is saying earlier I was using Perplexity, so Copilot, but Claude is better right now. Correct. So Perplexity has I think it's very great for research purposes, but it comes with its own limitation. If you will ask it to create a document, it is not so good with that. But when we look at Claude, it has multiple hands. It can do multiple things with for us, which we are going to discuss as we progress in this workshop. All right. So knowing this from you all, now my next question for you all would be, can you all tell me how are you currently leveraging Claude? So Claude has different options of how we can leverage it. One being we can leverage it like Claude.ai, which is in the web browser. I'll also show you that. So here, so sorry. So this is our Claude.ai, which is the web browser. Another way we can use Claude is using Claude Code, which is from the terminal, which we will be learning about today. Other ways we can also integrate it with our VS Code. So these are the different ways we can probably use Claude. So would you all like to tell me how are you using Claude currently?
Mostly web and exploring CLI at the moment.
CLI. Okay. Anybody else? How are you people using it currently? Or maybe I'll rephrase the question. So where do you think you get the best performance? While you're using Claude from browser or you're using it from CLI, where do you think it performs the best?
I am new to Claude, so which is better? Maybe for initial stage, maybe browser will be I will like to explore from my end.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks for hearing. Great. Anybody else? Let's engage and talk because this is not just like a learning session. It is also a way we can know what is Claude doing best right now. So we can use it as a platform to share our opinions because it's not necessary that each one of us will have same opinion. We might have a different opinion. Let's say for me, CLI or Terminal is giving the best performance, but for someone else in the crowd here, um, VS Code is giving the best performance. Okay, to GitHub in-house agent. All right. So for today, for the first 20 minutes, we will be covering few basics of Claude Code, and then we will be moving into action where we'll be doing live demos. But for 20 minutes, it's going to be little theory. We are going to discuss about what Claude Code is actually, what is it capable of. So what are the things we can do with Claude, first of all? Anybody, quickly, you can type in chat. What are the things we can do with Claude? We can probably have a conversation with it. We can write our codes. We can complete our codes, debug them. We can develop some mini apps from it. We can create more designs. These days, Claude design is also very uh, popular. People are creating designs from this. We can create different kind of artifacts from it, such as we can create decks, correct, help us create test cases. Suppose if I'm giving it access to my repository and I'm asking it that this is my code base, now you have access to it. So help me write the test cases against it. Correct. We can analyze, we can design, we can code. So we can do a lot of things, right? So when I'm talking about creating artifacts, now under artifacts could come different things like creating decks or docs or designs, posters, web pages. Do you all agree with me? So as I've already said that like all of us obviously know, connect with email, manage our daily tasks exactly. So that comes under MCP. So as we already know that we have Claude from browser, we can access it from terminal, which is Claude Code. And we also have the option of integrating it with our VS Code or any other IDE, not necessarily just VS Code, any other IDE we can integrate it with. Now I would like to discuss, so everybody knows like what are different kinds of tiers we have. So we have free tier of Claude, which gives us limited access, which comes with message limiting. It will not allow us a lot of messages depending upon the length and the complexity of the message I'm giving. Let's say I start this chat, I'm using one of the highest models, which is available in free tier, the one which consumes a lot of tokens, and I'm giving it a message which is very complex, very lengthy. So let's say after four messages exchanged or four prompts, it will tell me that my limit has been reset and it will be reset at this particular time. But if I have Claude Pro, why I'm telling you this is because when we'll be using Claude Code, so we should all know that Claude Code is a feature which is available only for Claude Pros and Claude Max. it's not available for free tier. So if you are on free tier, you will not be able to install Claude Code. That's why it's important to know that if you are under free tier, which has limited messaging, you will not be able to access Claude Code. Now, so what do you think? First of all, we'll just discuss this. What is the difference between Claude.ai, which is from web browser, and what is the difference between Claude Code? Anybody? What is the difference between Claude.ai and Claude Code? So Claude.ai is more like a conversational bot wherein I can converse about it. I can throw it an idea. It can give me it in execution. It can design it. I can ask it to modify a code for me. It will give me back the text. So if I'm giving it text, it will give me back text. If I'm asking it to give me or modify my code, it will give back the code for me, code to me. It will not actually execute it. So let's think of it like a senior developer, wherein I am a developer. I ask my senior developer that can you please, this is the code I've written and I want your value in this or your contribution. So can you please review this? But the senior developer asks me, no, I can only guide you. You will have to do those test cases. You'll have to do those testing on your own. So that is Claude.ai, where it tells me what I need to do, but it doesn't actually does that for me. But if we talk about Claude Code, so Claude Code is an agent which also does things for us. So if we all know about the difference between GenAI and GenAI apps and agents we are building, so the difference between agents and GenAI is GenAI can give us text, it can generate text for us, it's very good at ideation part, but it cannot actually do things for us. But an agent can also take decisions on our behalf and do things for us. That's exactly the difference between Claude.ai, which is from web browser, and Claude Code, which is from agent. So let's see this. What is the difference? I'll go to Claude.ai and I'll give it a vague prompt. I'll ask it, I have a Python project in a folder which is called Orbit Watch on my desktop. So can you open the files src telemetry parser.py and tell me if there are any bugs? And let's see what does it respond with. So it will tell us clearly that I don't have access to your local file system or desktop. I can only read the files that you upload directly to this conversation. Right. Because it doesn't have any context right now. It doesn't know what files am I talking about, what project am I talking about. It doesn't know anything right now. Because Claude.ai is just a chatbot. It cannot navigate screens. It cannot look into my computer. It is just a conversation tool. So again, as I said, it's very good at ideation. Suppose if I tell it that I am doing the research on this topic and I want you to build a POC for me. So with full information, it will build that POC for me. But if I ask it to execute and look into the folder, it cannot do that probably. Now on the contrary, I'll also give you a brief about the project we'll be working for the demo today. So that's called as Orbit Watch. I'll explain about this in a little bit in a while. But first of all, so this is the path of the folder I've written. So I have this folder here. I'll just navigate to this directory of mine. I'll launch Claude inside of it. I have different accounts, so I've used it with an alias of Claude Personal. Now I'll go here. I will type this prompt in the terminal and then let's see what do we get. So just for a heads up, we have a folder called as SRC here and we also have a telemetry parser.py. So let's see what is the response it gives us. So it gives us that there are 2 bugs documented in the file. There are two bugs documented in the file. So there's bug one, which is on this number of lines, and there's bug two, which is on this number of lines. So within a few seconds, it was able to completely look at my folder and tell me what is exactly doing. But here, even if I would have given it, maybe I would just attached some file here, then given it little context. But again, it would not have caught up the entire context. So sometimes this is an example of very basic folder I've created, a project I've created for the demo purpose. So it is not that big of a repository. But if somebody's, and there are a lot of people who are software developer in this crowd today, so they must be building so many apps, and they know that how does actual repositories look like? They have a lot of folders, a lot of subfiles inside of it. So suppose if I'm attaching it, so if you all know that you can attach maximum of 20 files at a time, and it also has a file size limit of 30 MB. It cannot be more than 30 MB or 30 MB if you're attaching files here. So there are two negative things about it. One is we are wasting a lot of time. Suppose if I'm uploading files here, I'm wasting my time here. I am still losing some context. Reason being, let's say I'm adding this telemetry parser.py from here, but it has a test. So one thing fails from here. It is able to fix that. It is able to tell me that what it is trying to fix. Once it fixes that, I get one more error because maybe the variable name was which was there in telemetry parser.py, it was different in some other file. And maybe because when we are working with real projects, we have ports to handle. So maybe we are using port 5000, but here it assumes that we are using port 5001. So it uses that port. Then we again come here, we fix that again. So if we are using Claude.ai, we'll have to attach files manually. That is A, which takes in a lot of time, loses context, and B, it still is not able to fix everything properly because it doesn't have access to all the code we have written. It will miss something, we'll again come back, it will throw an error, we'll again come back, and we'll have to fix it manually. So this is a lot of mess, whereas we just saw in real time that how much time did it actually take to just solve the error, just catch the error which I wanted it to from my directory which I gave it access to. Correct? So has anybody noticed this difference so far?
Yeah.
So this is an agent. So we have to remember one thing, that agent is not someone who just answers the questions for us. If I'll ask it something, like, it is capable of doing that as well, but it's not limited to just doing that. It can also take actions on behalf of us. We'll also see that in action right now. If I'll ask it to modify some code, if I'll ask it to generate new files, it can also do that for me. So Claude.ai is a colleague which is sitting in another building, let's say, and I'll just call them on phone. They'll ask them what is the gossip right now for that building, or how do I do that. They can explain me things how to do that, but they cannot do that for me. But again, let's think of a different senior developer who, rather than just navigating me through my workflow, okay, these are the test cases I can think of, we just go ahead and implement that. Rather than that, that senior developer is also doing that validation for me. So that is our Claude Code, which is an agent, which is also doing that for us. We can understand this from also an example of, suppose if I want to get my kitchen renovated, and there is a contractor whom I call, and they just tell me on phone, okay, this is the design you have, this is the kind of styles you can have. So they're just recommending me. But if I have a consultant or a contractor right there with me, they can just analyze the whole kitchen. They can see what kind of things will fit best and how will it look best. So that is the difference between Claude.ai and Claude Code. So just quickly, 5 more minutes of theory. We'll just see what are the pillars of how do we see, like, what are the four pillars wherein from which we can become a Claude Code power user. So first being that it's important we build a very solid context foundation. So context foundation, when I say that, which means that it's very important that whenever I'm giving it a task, it should have full context of it. So let's say there's a founder. There was also one of the founders here in the crowd, I think, right? So let's say I'm asking him to, yeah, Daniel. Gopi. So I'm asking him to give appraisal to X person, and I'm not telling him that what was the performance of that X employee in last quarter or last 6 months. What is their role? What are they working at? What is the complexity of the task they are handling? I'm just asking the founder to give appraisal to X person without any kind of context. Do you think it makes sense, or do you think the appraisal that person would get would be justified?
No.
No, correct. Because the founder doesn't have any context right now that, okay, if they doesn't know anything about the performance of the person, whether it is good or not, if they doesn't know anything about that, whatever appraisal they give, that will not be justified. So it's important that whenever we are starting with a project, we are onboarding the project, it's important that our Claude, and if we are leveraging Claude for doing things for us, it's important we are giving it full context. Now, there are two ways of giving it full context. One is Claude.md. So has anybody heard about Claude.md?
Not skills.
Um, Skills are a little different than Claude.md. So Claude.md, we'll be discussing about this. It is more like where we are just describing about the project in very brief. That is Claude.md.
Is it kind of readme file?
Sort of, you can say README file, but with exact descriptions of what we want the what we want Claude to know before starting any task.
So we
Basically,
can
we ask them to like what we want, how
Huh,
we describe each point, like what each component should look like. We can, if we are developing some UI, we can write about the button size, the shape, the color, everything, so that it doesn't
right.
start from scratch.
Exactly, correct. So that is what Claude.md is. Right. We'll also be discussing about this. So one way of giving context is through Claude.md. Another way is also by giving it access to foundation files. So when I say foundation files, what I mean is we can have a subfolder. We can create a folder called as foundations slash foundations, wherein I can store all the different business logic or any APIs rules if I have, if I am in if I am in an organization or an industry where I have target customer profiles, so I'll also add some target audience profiles. So if you want to, and also we'll be discussing about Claude.md only, that if we have a lot of rules, then how we can manage it. Because the size of Claude.md is also very important. So the foundation files, we can also create that. That is pillar one, that it should have full context. Second, to become a power user of Claude Code, it's important that we are streamlining the flow with the help of skills. So somewhere just mentioned about skills, right? So now here comes in picture skills. That is, we can use skills. Suppose if I'm doing the task, which I know that it is going to be repetitive. So whenever we have to deploy a sub agent in production, I always have to do a peer review. Now that peer review at one level, it will stay generic only, and then uh, customized edge cases will come into picture. So rather than doing the peer review again and again, I can just create a skill out of it, and I can use that skill to do that peer review for me every time. We can create our own customized skills. So there are some skills which are automatically there, which we'll also explore in the demo. And there are other skills which we can create on our own, depending upon what use case we are in. So let's say we are into edtech, and we have to create promotional videos which will go out on LinkedIn. Uh, Yes, Gopi, because in that case, Claude.md will be too huge, right? And the context would also matter a lot. So rather than having everything in one Claude.md, we'll create separate Claude.md .md files for this. We'll be discussing this in a while. Sorry. So coming back, so we can also create custom skills for ourselves, which can be reusable for us. Sometimes when we are not sure about what this kind of skill would look like, so we can just test, refine it again, and until we come to a particular success. So I now know that I've successfully extracted a pattern from what I was doing. Then I can create a skill out of it. So that is pillar number two, whereas we can streamline the flow by using skills, whether they are the ones which are created by Claude, or we can also create our custom skills. Next is mastering the execution mechanics. So when I say mastering execution mechanics, which means that let's say I'm here. I also have this option of record. So rather than typing, which will do two things, which will help me lose context, because when we are speaking, naturally we remember more things, we can add more value to what we are saying, so the context would not be lost. And it will also save time. So one thing we can do is we can do voice prompting rather than text prompting, which will save us time and also it will save us context. Another thing we can do is, mostly you must have seen that suppose if I'm giving a command to my terminal and it is giving me a response, let's say whatever response it is giving me, I'm not satisfied with that result. So I want to give it a follow-up question. So mostly what we do is we give it a follow-up question. In that case, what it does is it will read everything from like everything again, which will consume a lot of tokens. It will also consume your context window. So rather than giving up with a follow-up message, we can just edit the same message. So it consumes little less tokens in comparison to giving it a follow-up message. And then using built-in features. So suppose if I want to do something and rather than integrating it with, rather than installing external MCP for this, we should first see that if it is something which can already be done by already built-in tools inside of Claude. If it can be done, we need not to install external MCP for this. So that is by using voice prompting, then having built-in features and also editing rather than chatting. The last pillar is leveraging the right model. So can anybody tell me how many different kind of models do we have available in Claude right now? Anybody?
Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku. The three is
Correct.
being used.
Correct. Right. So we have Sonnet, Haiku, and Opus. So in free tier, we only have Sonnet and Haiku. Opus is not there. But from Pro, if you have Pro, if you have Max, if you have Claude Team, there we can get access to Opus also. So now, depending upon the task we are doing, it's not always necessary. It's not always necessary to use the most complex model. Suppose if I'm doing basic a task which is very repetitive in nature, which is very casual, I can simply go ahead with Haiku, which is the one which is most basic. It consumes least tokens. And if I'm doing very advanced research, in that case, I can utilize Opus model for that. So depending upon the task we are doing, it's always on us to choose the right kind of model, which will help us save tokens. Okay. So now I think we are very much clear with what are the 4 pillars of being Claude power user. Now let's move to seeing the demos of. So before moving to the demo, so as I said that this is going to be the repository, a project we'll be working with today. So this is Orbit Watch, and this is a project. So this is about satellites and which are different satellites, what are the readings of it. So we have 5 different satellites. I'll show you here. So these are the 5 different satellites we have: Agni 1, Varuna 2, Indra 3, Surya 4, and Prithvi 5. And accordingly, we also have telemetry data for all of these. So we have the satellite IDs, what was the altitude, timestamps, velocities, battery voltage, solar output, internal temperatures, signal strength, etc. So we have different things. So our project folder currently looks like this, wherein I have test cases. So I have a test folder where I have different test cases. My main code lies at SRC. So I have anomaly detector.py, report generator, satellite tracker, and telemetry parser. Other than that, I have data. This is my readme.md. This is my requirements.txt. So suppose if somebody else wants to do it, we can just simply go ahead and install requirements.txt. Here I have configs. So this is my configuration. It's telling me what is my mission name. And right now it has a count. So open anomaly count, how many anomalies we have noted till now, all of that. So this is the folder structure we have. Now here, if you would have noticed, There's also Claude.md. Just ignore this one right now. I'll tell you the reason why I've created this one. But this is a Claude.md. Can you see this Claude.md?
Yeah.
So the use of Claude.md here now is that right now it's completely empty, but we can see the headings of it. I can see that it has a project overview, it has a tech stack mentioned, it has convention, what should we never do, what are the testings and what are the permissions, right? So what do you think? What does Claude.md really do? How will it help us? Right now it's empty. I'll give a command, give a prompt to my Claude terminal, and it will give me an output. Right now it's currently empty. Okay. And also I will just go ahead and delete this. So this is what I have right now. I'll show you something. So whenever I start research on any kind of project, so I'll always ask it to give me a one paragraph overview of what it understands, because it's also important that we should know what Claude is understanding. So I'll just type it here. Give me one paragraph overview of this project based on what you can see in this folder, because we should know that what it is thinking is it completely aligning with what we know about the project or not. If we think otherwise, if we think that it is not able to capture everything properly, then we can give it more suggestions. So
is it like a guardrail setup, which is being done before giving the prompt?
right. So this is a sort of a contextual guardrail wherein I'm trying to analyze that whether the Claude code has full context of my project or not, or is it missing something?
Okay.
Okay. So look, right now it's saying Orbit Watch is a satellite telemetry analysis system for the Enqurious Space Research Division that processes and analyzes downlink data from multiple satellites. Then it is giving us that these are the CSV files we have. What is it capturing? Altitude, velocity, etc. This is what it is telling us, right? Now, so it just looked at the folder structure, what all data I had, what are the values inside of it, what are the columns name inside of it. It figured out on its own that what project is it. So if we all know that Claude's models like Claude, ChatGPT, they are all trained on generic information. They're not trained on specific information, and uh, that's why whenever we are doing a task wherein we want a lot of, we want a formal style or we want our own language tones. I wanted to learn my own data. We perform fine tuning. So we can think of a step before fine tuning. It's like a layman's pre fine tuning we are doing by giving it access to everything I have in my code database right now. Okay. So right now it's just making educated guesses what data it has been trained on. It doesn't know what convention I have believed in, what the thresholds I've set, or what do I consider, what is the definition of an anomaly for me, or which satellite or what project specific rules are. So let's do one thing now. We'll just I'll just go ahead and populate this plot.md. So now I've written a project overview for this, and if you can see that we have total of 55 lines here. So Claude.md ideally has a size which should be between 60 to 200 usually, but then people say suppose even if it is exceeding 200, but it shouldn't be more than 300 lines of code. It should only be between 60 to 200 or even less than 300, but not more than that. Because if we are adding a lot of information in Claude.md, it becomes too exhaustive for Claude to understand that. And we should always know that Claude.md is a file which is read by Claude every time it starts its session. So every time before starting the session, it takes information from there. And Claude.md, there are two ways of creating Claude.md. One like we are doing it. So by a developer who's working on the project, they can create Claude.md. Two, it is also been auto-generated. So whatever context we give to it, whatever tasks we are doing with the help of Claude, if whatever information it captures from there, it creates a Claude.md automatically. So right now we are creating it. So if it is auto-generated, you should make sure, depending upon what kind of information you want Claude to know before starting every conversation, please add those instructions in Claude.md. So Claude.md is a file wherein we can add our architecture, what architecture we are using, what tech stack we are using, the project overview, and what are some things it shouldn't do, what are the kinds of permissions it should have. These are the things we can always do with Claude.md. What are some of the specific rules? So this is one kind of Claude.md we have. I've saved this now, and now I'll go back. I'll give this prompt to Claude again, and let's see if it changes its output or not. So here comes in the difference. So now earlier it didn't know that what are the 5 different satellites I have, what altitudes are they operating at. Now it knows my thresholds, it knows what kind of satellites I have. So this all the context has come from Claude.md. Before Claude.md, when it was empty, this was what it was assuming. So it was making educated guesses, wherein whatever it could probably understand from my project folder, it gave me that information. But now, since I have Claude.md, so it also knows what tech stack I'm using. Now it's not making blind guesses. It doesn't just assume on its own that I might be using the version of Python 3.9 or 3.12. It knows I'm using the version of Python which is 3.11. What frameworks I'm using for testing purposes, what are the features inside of it, what are the thresholds of it, how does it has to handle the negative temperatures. It now knows everything. Got it? So this is something which has come from Claude.md. So do you all see the difference the Claude.md file has made?
Yes.
So this saves me a lot of time. Now, before every session, I'll not have to feed this information to Claude Code again and again, that these are the 5 satellite names. Sometimes what happens, that it also, sorry, Pavan, yeah, it was correct, not character limit, it was number of lines we should have. Coming back, so before now, I'll not have to feed this information again before start of every session. Since I've written this Claude.md, now it will always know that what are these information. So coming back to it, just let's have a look at it. What all information have we added? So one is project overview, shouldn't be more than 2 to 3 lines. You just have to tell in brief. This is not a very, again, I'll repeat, and this is very important to emphasize on. Claude.md is not something which is very exhaustive file. We do not have to add all the possible rules here. Let's keep it very short, very sweet. So this is going to be not more than 2 to 3 lines. That Orbit Watch is a Python-based satellite telemetry analysis system for Enqurious Space Research Division, and it passes raw CSV downlink data. This is what are the information I've given about it. Then moving to tech stack, what tech stack have I used? So I've used Python 3.11, PyTest 7.4 version. Then there are no external ML libraries I've used, and the data files would always, they are present in this folder as CSV and plain text files. And my source code lies in SRC, and they are importable modules. Then what are my satellite feeds? What are some of the conventions I believe? What are something you should never do? So for this particular project, now there are a few things which will always be customized. It will always be more oriented towards your particular use case you're solving, your project, your domain. So here for me, it was important that I should never cast temperature values to it because it will take precision. Because here, when the temperature values in satellite or satellites, they're negative, it means that there's something not right with spaceships. So it's important to capture those. We do not have to convert them to integers. So never raise a value error on negative temperatures because they are physically valid for this particular domain. So these are some of the things which can also mention in never do. Then what testing it has to do, how, what are the permissions it has. So we are, let's say we are running PyTest freely without even asking, because we have mentioned here that we are using PyTest for testing purposes, right? So show a plan before modifying anything in configs, because configs is a file which is very important. It contains all my configurations. So this is very sensitive file for me. So that's why if you want to change anything in that, you should always ask me, you should take a confirmation from me. This happened with with few of our colleagues also, that they were using Claude to commit changes to GitHub, and Claude actually deleted their files. So we have to be very explicit through this. We can call it a system prompt maybe. So we have to be very explicit using this, that we should never delete files from data without our confirmation. And it should also not create some files, because these anomaly reports, as you can see, these are the reports we are going to finally generate. It shouldn't generate garbage. So it's important. Now, there is an article which I'll also be sharing with you later after this workshop. This is a very excellent article, and this will tell you a lot of details about Claude.md. So one thing, I think somebody also mentioned that what Claude.md contains is what we are doing, why we are doing, and how we are doing. But it doesn't have to be very exhaustive. Okay. And less is more is always the principle. So I'll share this file with you. You can just go through this. This will give you a lot of information. Now coming to how we were saying, there was a question also in the chat from Gopi, that if there is a lot of context which we need to give, and we have specific rules about sales, we have specific rules about marketing, product, then what we can do is I can create a subfolder inside of it, which I can call it as docs maybe, or I can also call it as skills. I can create this folder, and then I can have these particular empty files. So I can name sales.md, marketing.md, product.md, and I can write those rules inside of these empty files. Got it? So if you think that the list of rules are becoming very exhaustive, it's always best to create one more folder inside of Claude.md, or you can have main Claude.md, and then you can redirect in Claude.md only. That if you want to know about few rules, you can just have maybe a sort of map. We can create a map section here, and we can ask it sales.md. I can tell it that if you want to know more rules about sales domain, please, not please, refer to sales.md in skills. We can also mention the path. Where can it find it? So we can create a map. Okay. So this is what Claude.md is, and this is how it changes the context of it. Now, before moving on to the next demo, if you could see that in our Claude.md, we also had something like permissions, right? So we have given a lot of permissions. Now, permissions is not just a section like obviously we are including it in Claude.md, but this is something which is very sensitive and very important, very pivotal. So right now we are just writing that run PyTest very freely, show a plan before modifying configs, or never delete the files from here. So we are not just being polite here. This is how we are configuring that how much autonomy Claude has in this project. Because again, as I just gave you an example of it also deleted some files from deleted some files while we were pushing it to GitHub. So it means it hasn't. We have heard of such incidences from very big organizations coming from Amazon, where it deleted the database, it deleted the files from the database. So Claude, we are delegating some tasks to Claude, but it should not be like we are just delegating it blindly. It should always be a supervised delegation. A human should always be there who's supervising. So we can think of permissions at three different levels. One being the permissions or the things which are very low risk. Like for example, it's reading files, or it's writing new files, or it's running some text or formatting or linting. I just want Claude to do these without asking me every time. But it's still, you must have seen that it's always asked, but do you want to make this edit? Do you want Claude to use python.bash, right? So I wanted to run PyTest freely means it shouldn't be asking permissions from me. Then there could be another kind of risk we could probably have, which could be medium risk, which is just modifying the existing files I have. So suppose if I have something here, let's say, and I ask it that this is the Claude.md I have currently, but I think it's missing a few details. So depending upon reading my folder structure, do you think I'm missing something? And if yes, do not overwrite the existing version of Claude.md, rather create a new version of it. So we can have versioning always. We can always have versioning which will not overwrite things, which will not modify our existing files. And third kind of levels risk is which is very high, which is deleting the files directly. It's migrating database or anything which is touching that production. It's very, very sensitive. So we should always be very aware about this. Okay. So we can always add that before making any kind of changes, show me exactly what you are planning to do, and you should always wait for my confirmation. So this is one line which if we are adding to instructions, it will turn the Claude from an autonomous agent to a supervised one. Like I am supervising it. I am one who will always be there for validation purposes. Okay. Now I also wanted to show you one more thing. So recently, if any one of you have noticed that uh, there is a there is one feature in last 3 weeks if you have used, then it is Claude AI also now, Claude.ai also now has memory. So it asks you, should I use memory or so it will ask you once or twice, and then whatever it will give you. So now earlier it was retaining information across one session only. Once you kill that session, your context will be gone. But now if we are using memory, it can remember, sorry, it can remember things across all the sessions. So now we have this feature also in Claude.ai. Okay. Now let's see one more example of executing and just suggestion. So ideation stage or suggestion stage. So I'm pasting this prompt which I'm saying that I have a Python telemetry parcel for a satellite system and this is the bug I want to fix. So how do I fix this? Let's see what it does. So now here it has told me that these are the bugs. It has found out the bug and it has told me what do I need to fix, right? Now, if I'm using Claude.ai, so it has solved this problem for me, definitely. But I need to copy this. I need to go to my telemetry. I need to go to my file which has this error, and I need to find that line and then I need to fix it. So this is going to consume time for me. Again, sometimes suppose if I have not given it other variables which are at the bottom of this code, and it uses a wrong variable, it doesn't know my threshold values, or it is completely fine to have negative temperatures. So it doesn't have that all information right now. Because of which it is, and it will throw one more error, which will I have to fix it manually. Right. Now let's see the same thing in Claude code. So I'll go to my terminal and I'll tell it, I'll give it the same prompt that this is where my file lies, and you have to go and see and check these and fix those bugs. So now we can see it's saying I'll fix both bugs in the telemetry parser and verify that. I've also mentioned that you have to also confirm that all the 6 tests we have, actually it's 7 tests. So all the 7 tests we have inside of our tests, they are passing before you're finishing it. So this was the kind of permission. So I'll allow it. So it has fixed that, puts both the bugs in telemetry parser.py, removed the value error also for checking negative temperatures, and kept temperature as float instead of casting it to int. And it is also saying that all the 7 tests pass now. If we just go back to our telemetry parser, so here it was somewhere where it was converting that, it was also not accepting negative values, but now it's taking those. So that change has been done and it is also passed. So the difference between Claude.ai, which is just giving me what I need to do, I need to paste it there, I need to fix it on my own, then I need to rerun it. If one more error comes, I need to paste that error here, and then I need to again go back. So this takes a lot of time, and by the time I have given it full context, maybe my error is solved, or maybe I have just trapped myself into a whole lot of different errors. But if I have access, if I've given my Claude Code access to everything, so it has just done everything for me already. Yeah. So it has just done everything already for me. And it also tells me that the tests have also been passed. So this is the difference between a tool which just answers the questions, whereas a tool which is also getting my thing work. It's also looking into my files. It's modifying my files. It's doing everything for me. I have not asked it that go to line X and then do it there, make these changes. I've just described my problem in simple layman's English language, and it is doing everything for me. Correct? Now, now let's just see what are the differences between Claude.ai memory versus Claude.md. So now there's also one more thing, if you all know, there's also something called as memory.md. So memory.md is something which is written by Claude itself. We do not have access to modify this. And this contains all the information or all the context it captures from while we are prompting it, while we're giving it tasks. So whatever context it captures from there, it stores everything that in that memory.md. So like I just showed you that screenshot also, if you want plot to use memory or not. So if we are using memory, it will have a memory.md file, which is dedicatedly kept for storing all the context. So it doesn't ask me again. Suppose if I writing it, that I am an AI engineer working at Enqurious right now. So it should already know that, like if I'm using memory, then it will remember that even if I'm coming after 5 days and I'm asking it, do you know who am I? So it will tell me that. So this is the kind of memory it is using. So Claude.ai memory versus Claude.md. So in Claude.ai memory, it persists across all sessions. Yes, because if we are using memory, it will. And even Claude.md will persist across all the sessions. Claude.md is a file which is rerun before starting every new session. So is this personal to me only? Of course, it will not remember the details of my colleague's Claude account. It will only remain that. Claude.md is something which the whole team shares it. So if I have pushed this folder to GitHub and somebody is pulling it, and they are also using the same folder, same Claude.md, so this is a file which is common across the entire team. Now, does this work in Claude Code terminal? So it doesn't work because memory is not something. So there we have dedicatedly Claude.md and not memory.md. Then do we have project specific rules and conventions in Claude.ai memory? No. But in Claude.md, we can mention that what are the specific rules and conventions because we are the ones who are writing it. And Can we control what's inside of Claude.ai memory? No. So this is memory.md, no. But in Claude.md, I can definitely write. I can encode permissions constraint in memory.md. No, but I can do that in Claude.md. And same goes for committed to version control. So can I do VC also there? In Claude.md, I can definitely do, but in Claude memory.md, I cannot do that. So this is the difference between Claude.ai, which is memory.md, and Claude.md. Clear, everyone?
So in Claude.ai, where is this memory.md saved?
In Claude.ai, that is not visible to us, so it keeps it. So it just gives us the option if we want to allow it to use that memory or not. It has some external database where it stores everything, whatever context we are giving to it. So that is not a file which we can see.
Okay. And in
That
yeah. And in Claude Code, there is no file like memory.md, is it?
No, in Claude Code we do not have memory.md. We just have Claude.md.
Okay.
So we had this project structure of ours. This is the directory. And we can see we have only Claude.md. So memory.md, you can think of it like your brain. So it's not visible. So it is something which it is just retaining for its own purpose,
Okay.
for its own context. So it doesn't forget things. But Claude.md is something we can edit. We can make changes to it. What do I want it to remember?
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Now coming to, yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
How do I enable this memory in Claude.ai?
So in Claude.ai, recently, if you've opened Claude.ai in browser, it will give you this option it will give you this pop-up. Do you want it to use memory or not? Or otherwise, I think you can go to settings and also enable that. You can also enable that in your Claude.ai.
Okay.
Usually, it gives you a pop-up if you've used it like for last 3 days you haven't used it. Now you have come back. In the last 3 weeks only this new feature has come. So if you are using it fresh, it will give you that pop-up. It will ask you once if you allow it, then it will continue to save that. If you have clicked on don't use memory, it will keep on popping up until you it usually pops up again to ask you once more.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So
Sorry, one more question there.
yeah.
So what exactly memory is like reminding all my history? That's what you're talking?
Not all your history things which Claude thinks is important. So for say you're working on a project and you are working on QA testing. Okay, now you are mentioning it that I am Pali and I work this is the task I have. So whatever details it thinks it's important, like your name, your designation, the company you're currently working in, your this project details, it will all start capturing those in the memory, like a brain map. So next time you give it the same context, it should know that this is what you were working on last time, or this is what your name is. So these are the things, whatever it feels is important, whatever prompts we are giving, from that, whatever it feels is important, it will capture that and store that in memory.md.
So it's a decision by Claude itself, right? We cannot
This
define
is
what has
no,
to be. Okay.
no. If you explicitly want it to remember something, so earlier like this use memory option did
Then
not
discuss
come.
MD. Yeah. Then we need to write the MD file, right? But this is
So
okay.
yeah, nahi, matlab also if you wanted to remember something explicitly, you can mention it that do not erase this from your sessions until I ask you to do so. So just retain this information always. So this is a system prompt which you can give it.
Okay, so through the prompt, it enhances
Ha,
the memory bank. Okay,
yes.
thanks.
Okay.
But enabling memory, does it have any impact on token utilization or anything like that?
Memory.md doesn't usually have token utilization because this is what it's storing it in external database it is having, and this is for its own purpose. But Claude.md has token consumption disadvantage also. So if it is going to be very exhaustive, that will have a repercussion, but memory.md won't have.
Okay.
Okay. So now moving on to next thing, which is skills. So we were talking about skills, right? That suppose if I have to do something repetitively, rather than doing it repetitively, what we can do is we can just create some skills. Like first of all, we'll just explore what are skills. So skills are something in Claude, which helps us to do a task which we are doing repetitively in just one go. I can just call hash that skill, and it will help me do that. We sometimes, like suppose if I, again, as I gave you the example of our industry, suppose if I want to regularly create videos, I can create a skill of generate videos because I know it's going to be the same process of having an outline first, then generating the script of it, then a narration, merging all of that, animation, and then merging all of that, and finally having a ready output. So I can create that. So rather than creating it every time, I can just create a skill to do that. Okay. Now there are skills which are there in Claude by default. So one I think which most of us have used is resume. So has anybody used resume? So whenever you are having, so I came to this directory and I know that this is the chat I want to work with. What I'll do is I'll also show you. Okay, so right now this is the only chat I'm having and I'm already currently here. So it's not showing me the resume option. But let's say you are in a directory and you have 4 different chats there. Once you click on slash resume, you will be able to see all those 4 different chats and you can see it will also show you the timestamp that this was done these many, or I can show you through this way. Okay, so here I'm not getting. So this is what resume helps us to do, that it gives us all the old chats and we can resume the conversation. So we doesn't have to start the conversation from scratch again. So this is one of the this is one of the skills we have. So I'm just going to discuss few because there are a lot of skills and I'll also be sharing a list with you here after the workshop, which you can go through. So we have different skills which have different purposes. So you can also try to, just put in a slash command and see what all skills do we have. We also have a short description of everything here right after this skill which is mentioned. So suppose if I was doing clear. So now usually suppose if I'm having a conversation with Claude, and I think that whatever I had till now, so I do need not to remember now whatever I've had till now, I can just erase it. I do need not to keep it in my context window. So there is one skill which is called as clear. If I use this clear, I do not want to clear it right now, but I'm just telling you. So if you just type this clear skill, it will clear all the conversation history. So now you will have context again. So if you had a context of 512 tokens, so you will have that free up. 250, 2500 tokens. So that contest will be free again and you'll start from scratch. Suppose if sometimes it happens that I do not want to completely erase what I've done till now, but I just want to have a compact summary of everything in the context. So we also have another option which is compact. So it doesn't clear the conversation history. It will free up the context, but it will have a summary of that. So the context won't be lost. It will also have the context of what we were doing earlier. So this is usually used for summarization purposes. Then we have doctor also. So this is as it's self-explanatory. Whenever we think that we are not able to install something, we are having some import-export issues of modules, or we are having some settings or permission issues, we can always call doctor. This is doctor helps us, suggests us what can we do about this. So like this, we have different. So a few which are important for us here is, let's see. So right now, if you are in your pro, you will be able to see, but right now I am at my max subscription. So if I use my cost scale, so it shows us how many total cost and duration of current session have I used. It's not showing me an output right now, but usually at max it will show us that we do not have to worry about this cost because it has already been taken care by max, because I am at my max subscription, so my cost has been taken care. But if you are in your pro version, so here in pro version and in VS Code and ID we have different skills. So we have something called as usage. I have something called as usage, which will show me that how many sessions I've used it for, what week, when does it reset, what email am I using, what organization, what plan am I at. So it shows us that this. Okay. So it has because it has a rolling window of 5 hours. So in Pro, we get approximately 45 to 100 messages in a rolling window of 5 hours. Whereas in Max subscription, we get in a 5 hours rolling window, we get approximately 900 messages. So that's why it's showing session 5 hours, 0% is used till now. And for weekly, if we say 7 days, so we have used 11% of it right now. And when is it going to reset? In one day. So which is tomorrow, it's going to get reset. So like this, we can also track our usage, how much we have used. We can use cost to analyze how much cost we have used till now. It's not working right now. I am not sure why, but it does work, and it tells us that suppose if you are at your max, it will show you, it will tell you that I am already, you do not have to worry about this. So this is about the custom skills. Again, as I said, there are many custom skills. So it's not possible for me to explain all of them. I can share a list with you for the important ones, and you can just go through this. So right now, next we'll move to is custom skills. So we can also create custom skills, as I said, for a task which I feel is repetitive in nature. So I'll just go through the folder again. So this is a custom skill which we have created, which is anomaly check. So if I just So this is a custom skill which we have created, anomaly check. So it will run a comprehensive anomaly scan on all the telemetry data which we have created. And it will also update suppose if there is any missing configs. So with the findings, that what were the findings, it will update all of that. So this is one of the custom skills. So how do you create custom skills? You just have to create an MD file from this name. So my MD file right now, it's in hidden folder, and that's why I'm not able to show. Otherwise, there will be a folder of Claude, and in that Claude folder, you will have these custom skills MD files, which you can just lay down that what will the skill do. That's it. In plain English, natural English, you just lay down what this skill needs to do, and this is how we can create custom skills. So right now it's just generating summary of all the findings it has seen.
I have a
And then
question.
yeah, yeah.
Like, is it possible to, like, let's say I'm building something on Claude and halfway through, and like I have having a free version. So halfway through, my task is incomplete, but I
Hmm.
have spend whole lot of time spent like explaining it what I want,
Yeah.
and it has like have the context of it. Is it some way possible to capture this context, take this context, drop it in chat gpt or any other like anti-gravity, and then
I,
that
no.
other uh, like whatever LLM we are using, IDE we are using, can it take it from there? Is it possible something like capturing and dropping it somewhere like to the other
Yeah, so look what I have done. I have also done this. So around let's say a year back when I was on my free tier, so I was doing some research from Claude. And what I did was, and I'll tell you what I have done. So could is possible, and but there could be more advanced ways of it. So what I did was I told it explicitly that your session limit would be hit after a few messages. So what I want you to do is create me a file which I can give as a context to another AI platform also. So it can do the same task for me. So every time, like till the messages were active, I haven't hit my rate limit. So it was continuously updating that context file also, and then once, and it also marked till what point it has done the work, the task I gave it to, and then I gave it to Quen, and it did it for me. So you can
okay.
try doing that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you can just ask it to capture all the context it is doing, and also the checkpointing, that till where it is achieving that task. So in case some other AI needs to do it, so it has the full context of it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So similarly, we can create different subskills. So here I used Anomaly Check, which was a custom skill I created, and whatever task I wanted it to do to find those anomalies and to list them down for me, and also update my mission config, so that it has done that for me. Right now, I'm not able to unhide that. There is a shortcut command of command option period, but I'm not able to see it right now. Otherwise, I would have shown you that how does a normal empty file for custom this looks like. So this is one. Now, finally, we'll see the last thing for our workshop agenda today, which is if I'm giving Claude if I'm delegating Claude a task, a multi-agent task, then we'll see how does it unrolls itself. How does it do that task? So I'll also show you the prompt once I give it to it because it will take some time to execute it. So I've pasted it. So whenever we have something long, lengthy, it just shows it like this. Pasted text, these many lines. I am sending it to it. In the meanwhile, I'll show you the prompt I've written. So I need you to complete the Orbit Watch anomaly detection system. So this is going to be a multi-agent task. So once step one, it will have to do is do the analysis first. So for analysis purposes, it needs the raw data file, which is present in this folder, and I've defined it the instructions also. Then I've also asked it that show me the findings as a plain summary. How do I want my output to be? And I've also mentioned that what I did not to do. Do not modify any files yet. So wait for my confirmation before step two. Then step two, what I need to do, implement the missing functions. Step three, verification, and step four, report and update config. So this is a, now let's see how is it doing this task. So it's on right now the first one, which is it's analyzing telemetry data for battery one. So look, as I mentioned it explicitly that before proceeding to step two, I would want you to ask my permission for it to implement the next step, which is missing detecting functions. So I will now give it permission. Yes, proceed. So it will go to step two also. So we can also sometimes, if you want checkpointing, if you want it to confirm from you as a human validation, as a supervisor who's delegated the task, you can also do that. So now there's a sub-agent who's detecting those battery drain sequences, detecting signal blackout. And it also shows us how many seconds it has been doing this task, how many tokens is it consuming. Other things which you can do around Claude is that if you want to see the token consumption, so you can start a fresh chat. In that, you just give the path of file to Claude, that is at the rate. My file is here. Just read it and tell me what is your analysis from it, or find two bugs from it. Okay, that is one thing that you're giving the reference file, the path of the reference file. Other thing in other chat, what you can do is you can use the same file, but suppose there was a file here which had 750 rows, right? The one which had the telemetry data, satellite data. So it had 750 rows. So you just manually copy that, paste it in your Claude chat, and ask it to do the same task for you. And then you can just compare how many tokens will it consume. So in one session where you're just referencing the path of the file, there it will consume very less tokens. But if you are manually copy pasting everything and if you are asking it to do that, it will consume a lot of tokens. So this is also one of the ways of saving tokens. And other ways of saving tokens are, we should not say, if I read it some and I also heard it, that how many times we say please, uh, Claude or ChatGPT uses double of its token. So we shouldn't be using such words, please, because this is unnecessary information. It doesn't need please. Could you do this for me? Fix this. So we shouldn't be using this. So no, please, no, thank you. And for token saving, you can also ask it that do not rerun it. One of the methods could be again not giving it a follow-up question, rather editing the same message. So these are the few ways you can again play around and see how many tokens of defense you can see. Now we have finally got the result of multi-agent task it was performing, where it delegated the main task which we gave it to it. So there was a supervisor who took my requirements from me, and then it had different sub-agents inside of it. It called those agents and asked it to do these tasks for us. So now all those 4 steps are complete. So we have step 1. It has analyzed telemetry data and found that there were these are the 2 findings it has got, that there were 8 consecutive battery readings which were below 11.5 volts, and there were 4 consecutive signal readings which were below 90 dB per minute. Then it also implemented missing functions. It also verified, that is, verification is also complete, and the reports has also been generated and the config file has also been updated. So the fleet status is that there are 3 critical anomalies detected across satellites: Agni 1, Indra 3, and Prithvi 5. So this is the result we have got. Now we'll again go back to our missing config. Sorry. And we will see that initially I showed you that my open anomaly count was 0. But now as it is detecting those anomalies, it is showing us that the count is now 3, right? So this has been updated. And also the last timestamp it has run, that has also been updated, which is 1250. So this is configuration file gives us information which is important for us to know what has been updated last, what has been done last. So it's very important. So that was all from my side for today. Now we are up for question and answers. So anybody who have any questions, please you may ask. If you want me to sum everything up, I can also do that.
Mansi, I have a question. I've just posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see it. Just the Google Drive post. I'm just reading it. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Gopi, I've read your message. So
Yeah.
you're saying that you have one project so you are continuing the chat there only, right, for creating weekly posts and all. So when we
Yeah.
are having conversation in the same chat, there are two repercussions of it. One is that, as I said, that after a particular, let's say it has a context window of 512 tokens. Let's take an example. Now you have
Mhm.
already consumed 512. So after that, what it does is it will summarize it and summarize it. So now let's say you have now for that summary, it's consuming only 50 tokens. So rest you have all available. Okay.
Mhm.
So after a certain time, even the summary is increasing and the context window is becoming very less.
Mhm.
So because of that less context window, your token in and your token usage will also increase. So what
Okay.
you should do is you can create a post and like you can create a version 2 of the same chat inside the same project. The same project you can start a new chat, and
Okay.
that way it will be easy for you to use less tokens.
Mm-hmm. So basically something like every month I start a new thread, I mean new chat or
Ha,
something.
ha.
And
Yeah, and like we were discussing, you can take the context from the same old chat you were having and give the
Mhm.
same context to the new chat. So this way, because the context window really gets exhausted if we are having a very long chat,
Okay.
because of which the token consumption also increases. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Manasi, I
Thanks.
have one query. See, I am from the
Sure.
QA side. So
Okay.
whatever the things you are told me, it's mostly suits for the development and it's the code walkthrough and all.
Right.
Where can I pitch from then QA end to implement this cloud just AI?
Definitely, you can do that. So if your team is working at in a common repository, you can have that common repository in your local folder, and or maybe you can connect it to GitHub or wherever you're keeping it, and then you can leverage Claude to read that code base, generate some tests from that code base only. So that will be easy for it. And then let's see if it is passing those tests. If not, you can reiterate and see that it was not passing. What are some of the advanced tests we can create? You can automate those tests and you can be there only for validation purposes.
Um, but my testing is on the device side, on the product side,
Okay.
not from the software. I will be
Okay.
testing the firmware of the product.
Oh. So how do you test it right now? So it's in real time.
Yes, correct. All real-time devices.
Oh. So for that, I think like if you are not allowed to, so you can just
Yes,
describe your
I'm restricted to the firmware with the
uh,
functionalities. I am restricted to the code and which they're going to
okay.
flash in the devices and other
Okay, so I
things.
think one of the best ways you have to leverage Claude would be you can just use those logs which you are getting, because while you are there in production live, so you must
Okay.
be getting a lot of logs and errors, right? So you
Yes.
can create a dump of those logs and errors and then ask, you can leverage Claude to write test cases based on that. So it will become like a dump for your all the past um, edge cases you have found out in production.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
This is some way you can use it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mans.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mansi, one more question.
Sure.
So in the Claude desktop app, right? There
Claude,
is this option
a
for chat.
desktop app. Huh.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there is chat, co-work, and then code, right? Which is Claude Code, right?
Right, right,
So,
right.
what is the difference of using Claude Code from that desktop app code option and also from the CLI?
In Claude.ai, we well know that it doesn't have access to our repositories, right? In Claude CLI, we can give it access to our repository. Whereas if we are working inside of Claude Cowork, we can also connect our Google Drives and we can also directly, so it is related to cloud also. So in
Yeah,
real
yeah.
time, we
I
can make
mean,
those changes to cloud. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, in the desktop app, there is three options, no? Chat, co-work, and code,
Huh.
right? Which is the Claude Code, right?
Hmm.
So compared to that, as in the Claude Code from the Claude desktop app versus the CLI,
Hmm.
is there a difference or?
So plot dot like the this
Maybe I
desktop
can
you're
share the
talking about,
screen and show you quickly.
huh?
Shall I share the screen and show you quickly?
No, I have access to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
desktop is like we are having that chat, but again with the local files, and we can also connect it to MCP servers while
Mhm.
we are there in our co-work. So that is more like it is happening in background. It doesn't ask for my input again and again. It can
Okay.
again access my files browsers. And when I'm there in my terminal, so that is an agent, like Claude Code is more of an agent.
Mhm.
That is the main difference.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And even from the CLI, all these routines, dispatch, etc., can be accessed, is it?
I am not sure about that, but it must be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because mainly I've been using Claude Code from the desktop
Huh.
app.
Okay.
From the the Claude desktop app, right? It has this
Hmm.
chat co-work, and then there's also a code option.
Right.
So I've been primarily using it from there. So I was just trying to
Okay.
understand like what is the primary difference when we use it from the CLI.
Okay.
Okay, all right, yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, guys, if there are no more questions, thanks a lot for joining in. And we have shared a feedback form here in the chat. Would be great if you can just fill it.
Thank you for the session.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. We'll do the feedback.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Mansi. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.